So this is the subretinal lesions. Beware of masquerades. You heard about beautiful choroid from Diksha, and you heard about subretinal hemorrhages from Mohit, and about pachychoroid, and everything was Rima covered choroid, and Anirudh covered AMD and what lesions. But what about this subretinal space? Subretinal space is the kind of the space which is nasty. So if you are seeing anything which is neither retinal nor choroidal, be very extremely aware. Now, this is an 8-year-old boy who comes decreased vision and some history of fever, cough, malaise, and you can clearly see the lesion is in the subretinal space, bilateral. So, what is unusual? It is a whitish color subretinal lesions, and it looks more like something has been deposited there rather than something which is pushing, like Rima showed those granulomas which were pushing it forward. Our Mohit showed that blood. So it looks neither of that. So what it could be? Any situation like this, always think of masquerades. So that is what we thought of. Peripheral blood smear showed acute lymphocytic anemia, leukemia, for which the patient was subsequently treated. So leukemic infiltrates in the retina generally have large gray-white nodules, which could be variable size, or you could have grayish-white streaks along the vessels, which may be caused by the local perivascular leukemic infiltrates. There may be optic nerve head infiltration or frosted branch, though not so common. The second thing is sometimes the patient comes with floaters, which may not always be benign. For example, this lady came, and to be very honest with you, we did not see any lesions. There was some vitritis, but because the subretinal lesions always may not be on your face, like I showed you in the last case, but try to look for them. The fluorescein shows this pattern, which is not a good pattern. If you ever see one, do the autofluorescence, do the OCT, do multiple scans, periphery. If you are seeing these lesions, which are typical subretinal deposits, which may be very early sign of primary vitreoretinal lymphomas. So we did have suspicion of lymphoma based on her age and based on the OCT findings in autofluorescence. However, patient was asymptomatic and she did not want to undergo diagnostic vitrectomy. 3 months later, the MRI, which was normal when we did it, 3 months later, she now shows hyperintensity in the deep this thing, and it's something which is suggestive of lymphoma. So neurology was inconclusive. I'm not going to go into the long story, but what I'm going to show is that this patient eventually came out to be lymphoma. Diagnosis clinched by observing a single lymphoblastic cell in the dividing phase. So don't get discouraged that you have done a vitrectomy and it doesn't show cytology positive, because it's very difficult to look for even one single cell. So what you should be doing for, looking for IL-6-10 ratio, because IL-10 will be highly elevated in lymphoma. It will help in differentiating. And mid-88, that is the gene. If mid-88 is positive from vitreous, even though the cytology is negative, you should always think about lymphoma. This patient kind of worsened a lot. She responded to methotrexate rituximab combination that we gave, but she had a very turbulent course over a period of time, which I'm not showing, but we published it in Retina as diagnostic and therapeutic challenges. But it all began with one small subretinal lesion. So you could be the first one to identify that lesion and increase the life expectancy of these patients by looking for CNS lymphomas and treating the lesions in the brain in coordination with your team. Please remember, if you see subretinal deposits like that, which on OCT show the deposit under the RPE, always go in for vitreous biopsy, no hesitation. Only important thing is your cytologist should be very competent and should be ready to receive the sample and do it in a proper way. Always do the MRI, even if it is initially normal. It's important to follow these patients over a period of time so as not to miss the life-threatening pathology. OCT biomarkers, again, we published with Anirudh that it's very important to look for some of these signs because a picture like this, you may be confused with toxoplasmosis, viral, or lymphoma. So if you are having the double roof configuration uh, on OCT, if you are seeing hyperreflective disorganization of the layers, subretinal and sub-RPE infiltrates like these arrowheads here, always think of lymphoma. Just go and take the sample out. And while taking the sample out, it's very important. Do not always chase, because I'm a vitreoretina surgeon, so we have a tendency to chase the clump where the cells are clumped together. Just remember, lymphoma cells are malignant cells. They will not adhere to each other. So that clump which you are chasing may be most likely inflammatory. So always get the sample from various areas, even the clear vitreous, because that is what might give you actually the diagnosis. My last case, something which doesn't seem right. This is with Bill Mailer. Uh, you see this patient, it came like VKH, but why should a VKH patient have these lesions? So the patient, the fluorescein is not really typical of VKH, but it's not atypical also. So if it was today's era, I would do OCT and basilarity layer detachment, but important to look at the history. The history patient did have multiple signs of retinopathy and his previous bone marrow biopsy was non-diagnostic, though they were suspicious of lymphoma. But when you have this kind of presentation in the eye, don't give up. Keep on chasing your internist friend, your oncologist, or whatever the patient is under. And finally, he was diagnosed as hemophagocytic syndrome. So, in conclusion, subretinal deposits, something which does not look very right to me, right to you, or something which appears unusual, always think of masquerades. Thank you very much.